This is breaking news from Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
And that breaking news is in western New York, where at least 10 people have been killed at a grocery store in Buffalo.
Witnesses say a man armed with a rifle entered that market and opened fire. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sandra Bookman.
And I'm Joe Torres. The situation in Buffalo is still very fluid. New updates coming in by the minute. Eyewitness News reporter Naveen Dhaliwal joins us from the newsroom with the breaking details. Naveen?
Yeah, Sandra, Joe, the situation is getting worse with every update, but we can report this is no longer an active shooting with a suspect in custody at this time. Shots rang out around 2:30 this afternoon at a Tops supermarket. A witness told a reporter at our sister station in Buffalo that they heard dozens of shots. Buffalo police confirm several people were hit, and there are reports that at least 10 people have been killed. Of course, this situation is very highly fluid, and the circumstances could change. Now, Governor Hochul tweeting that she is monitoring the situation and urging everyone to stay away from the scene. People have gathered around the store waiting for word on what is happening inside and if they know anybody who has been killed. The shooting leaving many of them in shock.
It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's hard to even muster. It's unbelievable. I'm lost of words. So we do come together for one another in a time of grieving. Yes, we're pretty good. Everyone's pretty good and respectful of one another. But this right here, this is a cry out. It's just hard to explain.
A cry out for help.
Definitely, most definitely.
This is Chanel Harris, yes. And you're an operation manager at Tops. Can you tell me what you experienced?
Well, I experienced today when I was in the store. I was working, and
what were you doing?
Putting up groceries, and heard a noise. Then it got louder and closer, and everybody started running towards the back. I got stumbled a few times before I was able to get out, and by the time I got out, I ran around the front of the building, experienced someone getting shot, and I ran back because I was looking for my daughter. But we both okay.
Okay, so your daughter, what does she do there?
She's she works as a grocery clerk.
Okay, as a grocery. Did you see the shooter?
I seen him.
What did he look like?
He had army fatigue stuff on, and he was dressed like he was dressed for army.
So, with
white
tall,
male.
white male.
White male.
Yeah.
Caucasian,
yeah. And so he was in like army fatigues. Yes. I heard helmet. I heard.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. And what kind of like a rifle?
Rifle. I seen all that, and I ran back after.
Yeah.
So he still was shooting.
So you were trying to find your daughter during this. And how many shots do you think were fired during this?
Over 70.
Oh my God!
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
Way back here.
Repetitive.
And then, so how did you escape?
Through the back door.
Okay. And you said you fell a couple times trying to get out.
I got stumbled a couple of times.
And there were, how full was the store?
It was
full. It was full this weekend. It was full. Today was packed. So
And you said someone was shot in front of you?
I witnessed one of them. Yes.
I'm so glad your brother's here for you. And
yeah, surprised me. I didn't even know he was here.
Yeah, he was on his way. Which Tops. Everybody comes to the supermarket,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Even across town. I live across town. And I work here.
Yeah, and can you tell me about like how you're? What do you think of? This is a mass shooting, right?
It's like a nightmare. I feel like it's like a dream, but I know it's not a dream.
But you hear about, but you never experience.
Yes,
you see
it on TV, but you hear about on TV. You don't even think in like the schools and things like that. But I would never thought I would be one of them.
Yeah. So were you hiding in the back, or did you just run out the back?
I ran out the bag. As I got stumbled, I was running with everybody else.
Yeah, and where did you find your daughter? In the store or outside?
I found her outside.
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 And what did you think when you?
I just grabbed her. I hugged her.
Oh my gosh! And how long did it take for you to find her?
As soon as we summarized here, it was grabbing people.
Okay.
And because so many people was missing, and they were grabbing us, saying this name, that name. When I seen her face, I was looking for her. So I seen her, but I was already with my niece. She was already outside with all of us. So,
Okay. Oh, you found her. You found her first.
Yeah,
Okay.
I seen her first. Thank God she was out. They escorted all the employees on the backside, and SWAT had SWAT and special units was there. So they started gathering everybody together as we started going back in looking for other people. That was employees, because that was the first initiative to get the employees and the customers out and get them to safety.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We begin tonight with that breaking news, a mass shooting in Buffalo, New York. Witnesses say a gunman dressed in army fatigues and a helmet walked into a supermarket and then opened fire on shoppers and staff. At least 10 people are dead, several more wounded. Officials say the FBI is investigating the shooting as both a hate crime and racially motivated violent extremism. First responders encountering numerous victims at the scene. The suspected shooter, who police say was armed with a rifle, was taken into custody. Relatives of those who were inside the supermarket, among those gathering at the scene, anxious for word on their loved ones. Witnesses say they heard dozens of shots fired. And tonight we're told President Biden and the Attorney General have both been briefed. ABC's Phil Lipoff leading us off with late details just coming in.
Tonight, at least 10 people shot and killed after a gunman walked into a Buffalo supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood and opened fire.
This is the worst nightmare that any community can face.
Several onlookers describing the gunman as a white man dressed in military fatigues. Shoppers running for their lives, people living nearby horrified.
My God, I never thought in my lifetime at my age that I would live to see something like this in my community.
The horrific scene unfolding inside the Tops Friendly Market shortly after 2:30 this afternoon.
Radio, send as many cars as you possibly can.
Buffalo police quickly taking the suspected shooter into custody.
The suspect put the gun to his own neck. Buffalo police personnel, 2 patrol officers, talked the suspect into dropping the gun. He dropped the gun, took off some of his tactical gear, surrendered at that point.
Late tonight, that suspect identified as Payton Gendron of Conklin, New York. As he was being arraigned in court, the FBI searching his home 200 miles away from the shooting scene.
This is a day of great sadness for all of us in the city of Buffalo.
Just an awful scene in Buffalo tonight. Phil Lipoff joining us now. And Phil, development's still moving quickly. What more are you learning from investigators?
Well, we've just learned that the suspected shooter here is 18 years old, drove hours to get to this particular supermarket, and then when there, live streamed the shooting as it was happening. Once he was inside the supermarket, he himself was actually shot by a retired Buffalo police officer doing security at the supermarket, but it had no effect because he was wearing body armor. 11 of the 13 people he shot were black. The FBI is now investigating this as a hate crime. Whit?
All right, Phil, thank you. And as we noted, the scene's still very active at this hour. Let's go straight to reporter Ed Dranch from our Buffalo affiliate WKBW at the scene with what's happening now. Ed.
With Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown calling this the worst nightmare for any community. Here tonight in Buffalo, 10 people shot and killed inside this Tops Friendly Market, a major grocery store chain here in Western New York. A number of those people were shot inside the store. A number of people were also wounded inside the store. Here tonight, you can still see a very active scene here. We should let you know the suspect is in custody. And according to eyewitnesses, we're told this man was on a mission. Armed heavily, dressed in fatigues and camouflage. What this man's motive was, still unclear tonight, Whit.
All right, Ed, our thanks to you tonight.
Judge, Kelsey Anderson with Channel 4. Are we allowed to live stream this, or do you just want us to take pictures and video and then send?
By 27 of the penal law. There should be a copy of the charges in front of you. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir. I understand my charges.
Okay. And can you afford an attorney?
No.
We would respectfully request that the defendant be remanded without bail. I'd also like to let the court know that the people intend to present this directly to the grand jury.
As far as any bail issues, I'll reserve our right to make further argument at a further point down the road.
All right, then remand it. Mr. Parker, you want me to bring this back afternoon?
Could we extend it to Thursday?
Okay, Thursday in the morning, then I'll be the 19th in the morning. Are you both available?
19th in the morning, I'm available, yes.
All right. May 9th, forensic at the defendant's request. Remand. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
That concludes this evening's calendar.
We'll get in court Thursday morning.
This is a reading lesson. A self-paced progression to provide the truth of what the Most High wants. Pause as necessary to review the scriptures and dialogue.
Straight to some expert analysis now with CNN national security analyst Juliet Kayyem. Juliet, always great to have you. Always unfortunate that it's often under these circumstances. CNN has independently obtained this shooter's alleged writings, much of it lifted directly from the darkest corners of the internet. The shooter describing himself as a white supremacist, as an anti-Semite, exposing that fringe conspiracy theory that white people are being systematically replaced in this country. It's very similar to other far-right terrorists that we've seen before. This strikes me as a copycat type attack. Is that a fair assessment?
It is, and I think I think the manifesto exposes, I think, the limitations of the way we tend to think about these kinds of attacks as sort of lone wolf. What can we learn about him? What motivated him? I think what we see is that there's an entire apparatus of connective tissue, connecting these cases, connecting this hate, and supporting essentially the efforts that we saw, the hunt that we saw on Saturday. The manifesto itself is not rambling. We shouldn't think of these people as crazy. It's actually just absorbing the language of hate that we hear in the public space, that we hear in the media space, and in particular, as you note, the white replacement theory of racism, and it matters because white replacement theory is based on a belief that the pie is limited, the American pie is limited, and that the existence of the other, in this case, African Americans, but we've seen it with Hispanic Americans in the rampage in Texas, the existence of them threatens my ability as the white man to be able to exist in America, and therefore it justifies violence. In other words, it is not just racism, it is a violent racism because you have to rid yourself of these people. And this is the motivation that is leading to what we call, violent extremism. This isn't just mere extremism. It is violent extremism because it's justified in their theory of, I have to protect my piece of the pie.
And that kind of thinking is echoed often even by some of the most popular hosts on cable news and other similar terrorists. People that we know shot up a mosque in New Zealand, a church in South Carolina. The shooter in his own writing seems to acknowledge that he was radicalized online, just an 18-year-old kid. Walk us through that process of radicalization. Are some people more susceptible to this sort of thing than others?
Well, certainly, that one is some people are more susceptible to it because it confirms maybe beliefs that they've had or the beliefs that they've been raised in. And then the way the algorithms work on social media, the way that we get information is that if we like something, more of that information will come to us over time, so that you're just inundated with only that lane of how to view things. So that is essentially what is happening. Now, there's lots of people receiving this though. So why did he become the one who took out a gun? But that's the sort of brilliance, I hate to say it, of what's happening in terms of white supremacy, in terms of hatred in this country. You can hear political leaders, media leaders, right? They are espousing the same thing, but they're doing it in a way that is relatively generic. And so they have plausible deniability. They didn't know this guy. They didn't tell him to do it. But what they are doing is giving him a network of support. They're giving him, as I wrote yesterday, the herd. He's not a lone wolf. He has his herd. And then why particularly him, we will find out over time. But that's basically how the radicalization works. They find comfort in the numbers, and they're supported by leaders. I mean, they don't view themselves as aberrations or crazy. They are watching leaders mimic this language.
I'll open up for your questions.
Mr. Gamaliel, you mentioned that there are state and federal warrants going out. Who are they for, and what are they regarding?
Right now, warrants are being obtained for his home. Warrants are being obtained for the vehicle. A warrant was executed on the vehicle. Again, there's social media platforms, there's a computer, telephones, and then any other digital footprints that might come along, or digital technologies.
So are there any other individuals that you're looking into?
At this point, the investigation is showing that he did this by himself. We are, again, looking into some other aspects that we're not going to get into. I'm not going to share at this point. But this was a lone act here, but we are looking to anything that comes up.
CNN over here. Commissioner, I'm wondering if you can give us a timeline. You know, you said this morning that he was here previously. Have you been able to build out a timeline from the last 24 hours, 48 hours of his movement?
So he was in the Buffalo area. He was right in this area the day before. The warrants on social media platforms, GPS technology, that's going to help us put a much better timeline. We have identified some of the locations that he was at. We know he did some reconnaissance on the area and in the store. But as far as the timeline of when the act took place, the first 911 call came in at 2:30 p.m. yesterday. Our patrol officers were on scene at 2:31, according to our CAD yesterday. The officers immediately engaged the subject. As it was said, he put the gun underneath his chin, and our officers very courageously used every de-escalation tactic that they could. They talked him down. Used every de-escalation tactic that they could. They talked him down. Used every de-escalation tactic that they could. They talked him down. It was a pretty one-sided fight there with the armor that he had, and they were able to safely take him into custody with no further shots being fired. It was just a tremendous act of bravery.
Did he? The victims, and when do you expect to release the names?
We are looking at potentially releasing that later today. We'll get all that information out.
Commissioner, there's a lot of people on the street who are relaying to us frustration with the fact that the shooter, surrendered peacefully, and saying things, pointing out that, black men, often in conflicts with the police, have been shot for much less. Can you just respond to that criticism that is out there, or maybe just frustration in the community that we're in?
Any opportunity that we have, and that's what we teach, to de-escalate a situation, we are not looking to shoot anyone. This individual at the time put the gun to his own chin, not pointed towards the officers. The shooting had stopped at that point, and the officers moved in very quickly to de-escalate. Had the need come into play where they were forced to take deadly physical force, then they would have acted on that. Again, keep in mind he was heavily armed. He had metal plating, armor plating vests on, and that could have been a really bad situation. But we responded as we're trained.
You mentioned that he was here yesterday for reconnaissance.
Another victim is 86-year-old Ruth Whitfield. She was the mother of former Buffalo Fire Commissioner Garnell Whitfield.
And a family member tells News 4 that 32-year-old Roberta Drury was also one of the 10 people killed. She was from Syracuse and was in Buffalo to be with her family and help her brother recover from a bone marrow transplant. This morning, the city of Buffalo announced it'll pay for the funerals of all the victims. We know West Her is giving $300,000 in support for families of these victims affected by violence.
Now, as for the suspect, police arrested 18-year-old Payton Gendron on the scene. They say he drove 3.5 hours to Buffalo from Conklin, New York, equipped with tactical gear, military-grade body armor, and officials with the city say Gendron live streamed on social media throughout the attack. And this morning we received this mugshot of Gendron from the DA's office.
He's charged with 1 count of murder in the 1st degree. And last we heard, and as we just heard from the Buffalo Police Commissioner, this is the Erie County Sheriff saying he is currently under suicide watch. And we just learned that he came to Buffalo with 3 weapons in his vehicle. We will continue.
as well as the legal system and the prosecution. And it is my sincere hope that this individual, this white supremacist who just perpetrated a hate crime on an innocent community, will spend the rest of his days behind bars. And heaven help him in the next world as well. Yeah, I'm angry.